Hey, Max here from Abstract Automation. This is a quick little intro to this video. I realized after I recorded what you're about to see that I didn't have the correct background picture while I was introducing the video. Here's the correct one. I want to make it clear the elements that this video involves. We are pulling information from Reddit, processing it through Zoho Flow, sending it to an Excel file, then sending it out to ChatGPT and returning information back to Excel all through Zoho Flow. So I want to make it clear that this is a ChatGPT heavy content video. All right, hope you enjoy. Hi, this is Max from Abstract Automation. So I'm sure anybody watching this video has come across Reddit posts one time or another. Reddit is probably the biggest online community forum in the world and has all kinds of channels or groups set up on all different topics, spreading from anything from hobbies to industries to particular products and reviews. I'm sure anybody who has Googled a question or looking for advice on a product purchase has come across some Reddit posts, and it's pretty effective at getting some answers to questions that people are looking for. So why am I making this post here, and how does it fit in with Zoho? And we're also going to talk about how we can use AI to do all of this with a lot less work. So what we're talking about here is a business using Reddit in a way to elevate themselves or as an industry expert. Okay, Reddit is a place where you're not going to want to do any sort of advertising. You don't want to be promotional or salesy. If you act in that way on Reddit, you will get downvoted and possibly ultimately banned. So what a business might want to do is be active on Reddit in a group that aligns with your industry or with your customers and just be helpful. Okay. If people have questions about a decision they're making about products or they have a problem that they're looking for a solution and it's in the area of what you do on a day in and day out basis, give that person some free advice. And if you continue doing that, you might casually pepper in here and there some mention of your products or your business, but you have to do it in a tactful way, not over the top, and just if you keep an overall helpful tone, I think you'll be all right. What'll happen is organically you will end up steering people towards your business one way or another. They might look at your profile, and on your profile, you can have links to your website, to your LinkedIn page, maybe to a YouTube channel, um, and maybe just the name of your profile in Reddit might be the name of your company or your actual name that someone could find out there on a Google search. So what I'm trying to say is if you establish yourself as an expert and as a helpful person, people will find you. All right, so what is this video about? What have I done? Why do I have a picture of Zoho Flow on the screen? And let me get into that. So, consultant, okay? So I would like to position myself as a Zoho expert out there, help people answer their Zoho questions, and maybe it might steer some business my way. And so there is a Reddit channel that is dedicated to Zoho. I don't know if channel is the right word, but that's what I'm going to call it. So here is a Zoho forum or Zoho channel on Reddit. People are posting questions, problems that they're having with Zoho, questions on how to do things. And since Zoho is a pretty vast offering, some of these posts have to do with Zoho CRM, some have to do with Zoho Books and some of the other Zoho apps. Um, and so what I've done is obviously I could just manually uh, just do what I need to do, right? So every day I can check the posts. I can see if there's something that aligns with the services that I provide, see if there's any helpful advice that I could lend to the person making the post. And I could just type up the post and see where it goes from there. But what I decided to do was I wanted to do this in a semi-automated way using a combination of Zoho Flow and ChatGPT. Now, I'm going to bring up the flow that I have in Zoho Flow and walk you through what it does. It also involves using an Excel spreadsheet hosted on OneDrive, all right? So cloud-based Microsoft 365. I'm using an Excel sheet as part of this process. So the short of it is, anytime a brand new post gets posted to this Zoho Reddit channel, that triggers the flow. So that's our first step. Then what happens is it takes the basic content of that post and it puts it into an Excel file. So I'll let you have a look at the Excel file here. We have columns for a unique ID for the post, the date and time that it was published, the title of the post, the content of the post, And then the three fields over here on the right initially will come into the spreadsheet blank until ChatGPT processes the information and then updates these other columns. So I'll go through that in a moment. So it adds the row to the Excel spreadsheet with the raw information coming from Reddit. Then I send to ChatGPT using ChatGPT's API. Now, by far the most important part of the AI side of this process is creating a prompt that will get you the results that you need and that can be easily handled inside of Zoho Flow to process the information that ChatGPT gives back to us. So let me bring up what the prompt is that I'm giving ChatGPT. You can see it's quite long. Here it is. It's in plain English, right? So we're saying here, you are reviewing a Reddit post about Zoho, do 4 things. And I list out 4 things that I want it to do. First, I tell it a little bit about its tone and how it should approach overall to draft a response. Now, I want to make something clear here. Although I'm having AI draft a response to these posts, I am only getting that response in my Excel file. I am not automating the actual posting of the content back to Reddit. The idea here for me is I would never let an AI speak for me out there publicly like that. So what I would do is I look at the Excel spreadsheet, I see the response that the AI generated, and that gives me just some ideas or some starting points to go off of, and I can make some edits to it. Maybe I completely rewrite it, but I want a little something better than a cold start when I look at that Reddit post. So that's really what I'm using the AI for in this case. But I'm also having it do a few other things that are helpful. So it is numbers 1 and 2 talk about how to form the reply or the response. And then what we're talking about, number 3 and 4, I have a column in the spreadsheet, or 2 columns in the spreadsheet rather. Column E is AI Zoho apps. Column F is AI post rating. So what I'm doing is I'm asking ChatGPT, based on what this person has posted, figure out what Zoho apps are involved in their question, right? Is it Zoho CRM? Is it Zoho Work Drive, Zoho Mail, Zoho Calendar, whatever, and put the listing of apps that post is related to in this column, because Zoho makes over 40, 50 apps, and there's really maybe a dozen or so that I really focus on. And so I want to be able to focus on the posts that align with the apps that I work with most frequently. So I have it figuring that out and returning that information into column E. Column F, AI post rating. So I give in the prompt, I think that's my number 4 in the prompt, if we take a quick look at that, I'm telling it how to rate the post, how well it aligns with what I do as a Zoho consultant. So it takes into consideration which apps are involved. It takes into consideration whether there's any sort of migration work involved, which I do a lot of. It talks about who the audience is and what topics are sort of more of a high rating versus a low rating. So I'm feeding it all this information in the prompt, and I tell it to give me back a number 1 to 10 as a ranking, okay, or a rating. And so you can see here that it's rated these 2 posts as a number 2. This one is a number 4. There's one that's a 5, right? So it's doing a rating as well. And I use that rating later on for an email notification. I've told it that if any of the posts rate at 4 or above, send me an email as a notification. So I don't even have to look at this Excel sheet every day. I don't even have to look at Reddit every day. If I get an email in my inbox that says, hey, there's a post with a ranking 5 or 6 or 10, then I can act on it. And I've also included in that email template all of the information from the post as well as the AI response right there in the email. I'll show you that. That's inside of Zoho Flow. And then lastly, the column G here is the AI response. So this is the response or the reply that the AI drafts for me to look at to give me a starting idea, starting point for the post. So let's see what this flow looks like here. So that's the ChatGPT part. The prompt is a very important piece. Now the real key here, and I know this is sort of a longer form video than I usually make, but the piece of this video that is really important for anybody who wants to do this is this part right here in the prompt. So one of the challenges of using ChatGPT in a platform like Zoho Flow is you have to be able to extract the specific bits of information from the response that you're getting back from ChatGPT. In other words, if you're asking ChatGPT a question, it's going to give you an answer, but the information that gets returned from the API has a whole bunch of other junk in it. Like it has date stamps and time stamps and tokens and codes and all this stuff. So you get this big nonsense chunk of text that you have to somehow parse out and extract the important bits that you're looking for and turn it into usable English. That's probably the most difficult part of doing this inside of Zoho Flow. But I've come up with a very reliable and reusable way to do this that makes it easy every time, even if you're using completely different prompts from one flow to the next. And so what I've done here is I'm very careful to tell ChatGPT that I want the response in a JSON format. Okay, so JSON is a common internet format. If you don't know what JSON is, this part of the video is probably not for you anyway. But what it does is it tells ChatGPT to format the response like this section right here. So it's clearly marking like, here's my reply, here's the apps involved, here's the content. By the way, what I'm having it do is, since the content of the post is HTML, when it comes into the Excel spreadsheet initially, it has HTML markup tags all over it, so it's kind of hard for a person to read. So one of the other things that I have ChatGPT doing is taking that HTML content, stripping it of the tags, and giving it back in a just plain text readable form. So it's returning that as well back with the JSON. And then I'm having it give me that numeric ranking that I talked about a minute ago. And then we have some placeholders down here at the bottom, and this is the variable that we feed each time the flow runs. So it feeds the ChatGPT a different title, right? That would be the title of the post. Looking for help setting up users in Zoho CRM, right? That might be the title of the post. And then the content would be the body of that post. So these two are like merge code fields, placeholders for the prompt. And so every time the prompt runs, it takes in those variables, and that obviously it makes it produce different output. So this whole JSON return structure thing right here is super important. I do have a custom function in my Zoho Flow that is specifically built to parse out that response. So it knows how to grab all of the key value pairs, if you will, for it's a reply, here's my reply text. Zoho apps involved, here's the list of apps. And I built it so that it's flexible enough so that it can handle any JSON sent to it. Like, it's not looking for very specific key names or any specific structure in the listing. It will just return back the bits of fields, and then you can use them further down the flow in your mapping. So anyway, what happens is ChatGPT gives us the response. The custom function that I just talked about parses it all out and grabs all the bits, and then it updates the same row in the Excel spreadsheet. So if I look at this here, we're mapping the fields to our Excel spreadsheet. We're using the row ID as the identifier of the row that we want to update. So again, raw post information comes into, say, row number 3 into my Excel file. Then ChatGPT processes that information and then updates row number 3 with those columns on the right-hand side in the file that you saw. And here's how we're mapping the data back to the spreadsheet. So when the custom function returns the information, it's returning keys like content playing, apps, ranking, reply, just like this. And this is how you pull the different bits of information from the custom function. All right, then lastly, what I have here is a decision box here, which it evaluates and sees if the rating given to that post was either a 4 or above, meaning that it wasn't a 0, 1, 2, or 3, then I want an alert sent to my inbox. And the alert can be formatted as an email template, like you see here. And it also contains a link, a clickable link to go straight to that post on Reddit. What's kind of nice about all this is it happens within seconds. So if somebody puts a post up, this whole flow kicks off immediately, and it will get processed within like 3 or 4 seconds. So I'll have an email in my inbox with a reply already, sort of a reply idea already drafted. It ranked, what apps are involved, all that kind of stuff, within a few seconds of that person making that post. Here's what the email looks like, by the way. So the email comes in from Zoho Flow to me. We've got the date, the post title, what Zoho apps are involved, the ranking. Here's a link, one click to get to the post. Here is the cleaned up content of the person's post, so I can read it right here. I don't have to actually go over to Reddit to read it. And then here's what the AI reply has drafted, right? So I can choose to go and reply to this post or just ignore it and wait for the next one. So again, I just want to mention that I call this a quiet way to promote your brand. All right, you just want to make sure that you're not over the top, not doing any kind of advertisey, salesy type of posting on Reddit. Just be a helpful person. Establish yourself as somebody who's knowledgeable in your industry, and people will find you. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Have a great day.